Formula One is changing. Until recently, it was the preserve of the major motor manufacturers who outspent and outmuscled the independent teams, and it was impossible for new teams like Virgin or Lotus to come in. But that's all changed in the teeth of the global economic slowdown this past 18 months. Honda, Toyota and BMW have withdrawn from the sport, and Renault have sold a controlling interest in their team. At the same time, the sport has introduced dramatic cost reductions to get budgets down from around €300 million a year to €50 million a year by 2011, thanks to a resource restriction agreement which is legally binding on all the teams. The Formula One grid this year will feature 13 teams, including 4 new ones, like the Lotus team here at their launch in London. They're attracted by the cost reductions and by the opportunity to use Formula One's global reach and media platform in new and innovative ways. One of them is Malaysian entrepreneur Tony Fernandez, who has revived the Team Lotus brand. He made his fortune in the budget airline business in Asia and reckons he can bring a new business model to Formula One team ownership.
Well, I think it's I always enter businesses when I think it's the right time to enter it. You notice I say business. This isn't something I've got in for an ego or to make myself feel good walking around the paddock or the grid. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for us to collaborate with Group Lotus in reviving that marquee. Tremendous opportunities in reaching out to the sport in terms of multimedia and new media, and creating many revenue streams from that, and reaching new markets in terms of merchandising. So that's primarily why I'm in here first. I see an opportunity, and the resource restriction agreement, I think, is a very positive step for Formula One.
Lotus's Mike Gascoigne has worked for Toyota and Renault in the past, and he was attracted by the opportunities opened up by the resource restriction agreement.
If you can do this in 5 months with a small team of guys, it begs the question of why we've been spending all that money. And I think Formula One had become a spending competition, and that wasn't good for Formula One. Only 5 teams could ever really win, and the rest just couldn't be competitive. And I hope the resource restriction agreement, it's not watertight, it doesn't go far enough, but I think it's a good start. And I hope that can make a much more level playing field in Formula One, and it allows teams like Lotus not just to exist, but to flourish and get results.
Powering this revolution is an English firm, Cosworth, from Northampton. The second most successful engine builder in Formula One history, they were pushed out of the sport by the manufacturers in the mid-2000s, but they're now back, supplying 5 teams, including all 4 new entries, with engines at £5 million a season per team, roughly 25% of what it cost 3 years ago.
The resource restriction agreement couldn't have come soon enough, and we have to face the fact that we are in a time when teams are finding it increasingly difficult to find sponsorship, and we need to cut our cloth accordingly. So engine manufacturers need to be able to sell engines that are affordable and enable teams to run within a budget that is going to be sufficient to run a Formula One team. If it's not, we're going to see teams going out of business. And that's got to be bad for Formula One. We can't afford to keep losing teams, and we're just going to have to knuckle down and run our programmes with fewer people, less resources, and greater efficiency than ever before.
So the headline is that after years of spending like a sailor on shore leave, Formula One teams have now got their costs under control. There will be some pain in the transitional period, but it should lead to healthy grids and a sustainable future for the sport. For the Financial Times, this is James Allen at Cosworth in Northampton.